The WTA is currently the most unpredictable it's ever been compared to the ATP right now. We have a strong set of top 10 players, and even the top 20 players who constantly beat each other when facing head-to-head in tournaments. Right now in the ATP Tour, we all know if someone, not naming names, is in the tournament, it's basically over before it even started. Though there are more tight matches in the ATP Tour, the winner for the tournaments is just unparalleled and unpredictable, rather than the WTA, where it's more completely unpredictable due to the minimal skill gaps. You can see, compared to like Novak Djokovic and the new generation of players, he has almost like a complete win over their head-to-head ratios. There is a complete skill gap compared to the amount of experience he has with the minimal experience that other players that have just been on the tour for a couple of years have, and it makes a big difference when they play in tournaments. I'm not saying that the top 10 players in the WTA are all on the same skill level completely, but they have all won against each other multiple times when looking at the statistics, and you can say that when you're watching their tournaments, you keep your seat on edge. I'm like so drilled into the games because you don't know what's going to happen at any point of the point. Like, the match is undecided, unpredictable. They can be down 5-2 and they'll come up with a 7-6 win. Ever since Iga's crazy win streak that ended in June of this year, many players have come up with a challenge to prove their spot on the rankings. Since the Qatar Open in February, Iga has won 6 consecutive titles, ending at the third round in Wimbledon, where Cornet beat her in straight sets. In the finals of Wimbledon, Vondrousova shocked the whole crowd with her win against Jober, as it was one of the biggest upsets of the newer generation. It was probably more upsetting than Jober's last appearance at the Wimbledon finals when they were versing Rybakina, since many of the people put money on her to win. And look how that turned out. Even during all this, players were pretty evenly matched during the top 10, and I would go as far as to say the top 22. Let's just look at the statistics with the head-to-heads of the top 10. Looking at the head-to-head with the former world number 1, you can see that Iga has a pretty good head-to-head ratio against all the top 10 and top 20 players. But for the most part, when you look at other players who have beaten the people she has lost to, it's almost evenly matched. You can see that Swiatek beat Rybakina a couple times and that she has more wins over her, but Ostapenko has won against Swiatek every single time they played. But with Rybakina and Ostapenko, you can see that Rybakina has more wins on Ostapenko than Iga ever had. That's because players in the WTA have found weaknesses in the rivals of others, and it makes it more unpredictable because you won't know if Rybakina will win against Iga or not in the upcoming match they play because of how much she beats Iga's rivals, and that just makes it a whole different game than the ATP. You can see that Goff, who is like 19 years old, has won over Iga's rivals as much as she has. One of the biggest things that separates all these players to be the best of the best in the ATP and in the WTA is their overall mental toughness. For example, the one of the best in the current tour that I can use is Ons Jabeur as an example. She has played 3 slam finals in her career, and this was in the past like 2 to 3 years, let's say. And she has lost every single one. And it shows how much stress a tennis player has to overcome to win tournaments that size. And to be fair, she had the weight of all of Tunisia, all of the Arab community on her back, because she would have been one of the first people from that like nationality, from that culture, to have ever won a slam in tennis history in many years or just at all. So with that weight on her shoulders, it makes it really hard and stressful and emotionally draining for her to compete at the best of the best at her elite level. Out of the top 10, there proves to be very little amount of players who actually hold the specific trait of like tough mental toughness. For example, Goff and Rybakina are one of the most mentally tough players in the top 10 right now. I would put Iga up there too, but since her big winning streak that ended with the Wimbledon in the third round, it seemed like she's given up in tough situation when she's versing a hard hitter. For example, she would lose early in tournaments due to it just seemed like she wasn't going for balls that she definitely could have gotten. She's a great player overall, but the mindset is what led to her to drop in her tournament outcomes. Recently though, if you guys have been watching the WTA finals, she's proving that statistic wrong, as she's been persevering through many different situations, and now she's sailing so smooth through the finals right now. She's beating almost everybody she's been playing against. In 2024, who's going to be the number 1 player? That is the biggest question people are thinking about right now, as Sabalenka overturns Iga as number 1, and they're waiting to see if Iga will ever take it back or if there's going to be someone else who claims that title that's a new player, like maybe Coco Gauff. In my opinion, one of the best servers, players on the WTA tour right now would overall have to be Lena Rybakina. As much as she hits bombs of a serve, has immense all-court capabilities, and she has such a high level of class that we rarely see nowadays, she is known to be one of the most quiet and collected on the court, and it helps her break through barriers when fighting through tough opponents like Iga, Gauff, and Sabalenka. Though she doesn't have much experience as maybe other players, she's definitely all around one of the better players on the court at the moment. She's going to persevere through all the troubles, and I feel like in 2024 she's finally going to get more slam wins and find her way for another title to put in her name. If you guys have a different opinion than me, please leave a comment down below on who you think will be the #1 player in the world for the WTA in 2024.